Tonight's guest is Carey. Carey, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, Vic. I appreciate the opportunity to share, unfortunately, my experiences that are happening.
Well, you're welcome. I'm just so sorry you had to have these experiences in the first place. That's not good.
No, not at all.
No, it isn't. Carey, please give us a brief bio on yourself.
Well, I started out as a 100%, like the most non-believer you could ever talk to in anything paranormal, because I think I've told you before, I believe in the Lord, so I just believed in heaven and hell, demon and angels, that was it. I didn't believe in anything else, and I always thought that I was an open-minded person. Come to find out, I was not. I was a very closed-minded person when I started having a Sasquatch experience in Tennessee in 2016. And it changed my whole life. I had not heard anything about a Dogman, werewolf, wolf, whatever they're called. The Sasquatch experience was shocking enough to me to get through. I didn't think that there was more, but there is. There's way more. There's way more out there.
Yeah, unfortunately, there is. You just mentioned the fact that you were such a skeptic before you started having encounters. How life-changing was it for you, though, to come to the realization that cryptids actually do exist?
Oh, very life-changing. We this was supposed to be we moved to the Smoky Mountains. I'm from Virginia, Northern Virginia, near the border of West Virginia. I grew up playing in the woods, hunting, fishing my whole entire life. Growing up, we didn't have any toys. The outdoors were our toys. Hunting, fishing, hiking, all over West Virginia, parts of North Carolina, the Dismal Swamp. We moved to the foothills of the Smoky Mountains, about 30 minutes from Gatlinburg, to retire. That was supposed to be our retirement. Beautiful piece of property right at the foothills. River was in front. At the end of our road, one-way road, one way in, one way out, was a wildlife management refuge. It was just an absolutely beautiful place. And after several years of dealing with that, we just couldn't take it anymore. And we bought and sold 4 homes in 3 years, 3.5. Yeah, it's about, I don't even know. I would really have to sit down and look at the dates, but somewhere between a little under 3 years and a little over 3 years. But that's 10 months, 10 months for one home a year. And you're talking about buying and selling a home and then having to pack up and unpack all of your stuff. That is so expensive, and we're not rich people. So it changed our lives like that. I don't go deep in the woods anymore. It took me a long time before we would even kayak, or I would even walk next to the edge. If I'm walking my dog, I wouldn't even want to walk next to the edge when I'm walking on the road next to the edge of the woods. I mean, it changed everything. Wouldn't go out at night. I got to the point where I didn't even want to leave the house for months at a time. Yes, I couldn't sleep. And mainly there was multiple reasons. One, because sometimes they would be outside and we would hear them. They'd be jumping on the roof. Or I just couldn't sleep because I was anticipating something happening. It's taken me a long time to be able to finally figure out how to know these things are real. And me and my family live a normal life, and it's not been easy, but I've kind of figured out, like, yes, they're real. I was not as open-minded as I thought, and there are things out there that we don't want to believe, and we don't want to believe because they're scary. We want things to be everything to have a neat little box to fit in. And when it doesn't have that little box to fit in, we don't know what to do with it. So it just kind of bounces all around in our brain until we become super obsessed with it, or we withdraw from it. And it can literally drive you nuts because they're not supposed to exist, and they do. And you talk about it, you get laughed at or ridiculed. Some of my own family members laughed at me and looked at me like, are you okay? And I was looking at them dead in the eyes and saying, yes, laugh all you want. I know what I saw. And if I was just the only person that had witnessed this, like if my husband and my daughter, that she moved out. She was an adult, but she was living with us for a little while. She moved out 'cause she couldn't deal with it. If I wasn't the only one, then I might think I was nuts. But I've got confirmation, and I've even had physical pictures and proof. So I know I'm not crazy, and I've never, like I said, I've never, taken psychological meds. I've never had, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I haven't. I've never heard voices in my head before. I've never, had other like experiences that haven't been able to be proven by witnesses or proof happened before. So it's changed my life considerably. And I always tell people, just because it didn't happen to you doesn't mean that it is not real. And that's what I tell myself.
You're right, those are wise words. And I'm so sorry to hear you had to go through all that. No one should have to deal with that sort of trouble. I mean, life is difficult enough as it is. And then on top of that, you have to deal with being basically under siege in your own home. And then you pack up and move 3 times, and that doesn't get the job done. They still follow you. That's just absolutely horrible. But having said that, Carey, realizing that cryptids are out there obviously changed your life quite a bit. But what did that revelation do to your faith?
Well, I think that strengthened my faith because I know that God protected me, because there's so many times I was completely alone with my dog, and I have a service dog, Rottweiler, and we'd be walking, and all of a sudden the leash would just like tighten up, and he would start growling, this mean growl, and he would be locked on to something looking at it, and I just could not see it. And I would be squinting, and I mean, looking at the top of the trees and just scanning everywhere I could. And I grew up being able to track different wildlife footprints and just track animals. Like I said, I hunted, so if you spend that much time in the woods, you're pretty good at that. So I was really good at scanning and noticing any little difference in the woods that I had been in multiple times before. I could pick it out. It would be like, that Where's Waldo kind of thing. I could pick it out within less than a few seconds. And, I would look and I wouldn't see anything. And it strengthened my faith, because I know if they wanted to, they had so many opportunities to grab me, and I would be one of those missing people. And I've also thought about, there's so many missing people nowadays all over the place, just in the United States, like in each state. If you're not in that state or that, let me say, that particular county, you don't even hear about it. For instance, if somebody goes missing 2 states away, we don't hear about it here. In Indiana, we don't hear about it on our TV unless it's, a child. And then you get that Amber Alert for, a couple of seconds on your phone 2 or 3 times, and that's it. But there's so many missing people that, back when I was growing up, if somebody went missing, it would just be on every state's TV everywhere, blasted everywhere. There's so many missing people now. It's just like, if you're even lucky enough to make it on the TV news, it's like for a few seconds and that's it. And it's like you're forgotten about, because the police and the detectives and whoever else is looking for you, if it even goes past the local police, they can't keep up with how many people they're missing. So you're just forgotten about, except for your loved ones, which they really can't do much except look themselves. So, I mean, you could easily go missing, and it's like nobody cares anymore because they just can't keep up with it. And I know that God's protected me, because that could have happened. So many opportunities. Like, I went hunting in the Dismal Swamp. I hiked 5 miles in one time by myself. And I heard I did not believe in Bigfoot. The only thing I knew about it, or didn't even hear the word Dogman, anything I ever heard about cryptids was that Patterson and Gimlin film, a few seconds, and that was it. I heard something growling underneath my tree stand. I don't know. I didn't know what it was. And my hair started standing up, and I started getting this very uneasy feeling like I needed to leave or something was going to happen. And I just kept pushing it and staying and staying and staying. And all these deer came running out towards me. And then I got the feeling like, if you don't leave, something's going to happen. So I did. I hiked out. And if God wasn't protecting me, I could have been so easily missing, and that would have been it. So it strengthened my faith knowing that 100% God has protected me, because I did believe in him. Even though I wasn't following him as much as I am now, and I am now more because I know he has protected me. I did believe in him then, but was not seeking him as much as I am now. So it's definitely, 200% increased not only my faith, but my husband's and my daughters. I have 3 daughters, them and my grandchildren. So it has changed that quite a bit for the good.
Safe to say that's about the only good takeaway from all those experiences that you've had. Thank goodness it did at least have that effect on you.
Yes, I would definitely say so.
Oh, definitely. All right, Carey, please tell us about your encounters now. Give us every last detail that comes to mind.
Yes, sir. Well, it started out by having experiences with Bigfoot, and back in Tennessee. Well, we moved to get away from that after. It wasn't bad encounters, but it was just so much happening every single day that I wasn't being able to sleep. And I couldn't put my dogs on the deck. My cats couldn't get any rest because stuff would tap on the windows all night long. It was just so much going on. We had to move because my nerves couldn't take it anymore. It was like, what next? What next? I was in a constant state of like, heightened awareness. And I wanted to live there to relax. So we moved, and we wanted to move to Indiana because I have a daughter, 2 daughters that live here now. And my third one will be moving here soon. So we looked the whole state to find a house that was big enough, because I'm home a lot, and we wanted a little bit of land. It was very hard to find a house that was in a price range that didn't need a lot of work. We found an older farmhouse that had been completely redone on the inside, and it was on a beautiful several acres property. There was nothing around. One thing about Indiana is when you get up in the farmland part, it just is, everything's flat and it's very square, and it's like one lane country roads. You can barely squeeze 2 cars past, and everywhere you look is just fields of corn as far as the eye can see, and it gets really high, and it's beautiful. It's a different type of beauty from the Smoky Mountains, but it's beautiful. And it is very cold, but the rest of the year Indiana has beautiful weather. So we picked this farmhouse, and we loved it. It was perfect. Well, the first thing that we noticed right after we moved in is, like I said, I have a service dog, a Rottweiler. The upstairs bedroom, there was it's like your typical, 2-level older farmhouse, the way that just almost all of them look the same. And they have the green, open doors that go down to the root cellar on the outside. Well, where I slept was right next to this window on the second level. There was a concrete wall about 4 feet. No, I'm sorry, not 4 feet high, but knee high. I don't know, maybe 2.5 feet high. And it was about 4 feet from the border of the house. And it looked like they used it for some kind of, flower garden. That's the only thing I could think of, but it was concrete. And the first level of the roof was about 6 feet high. You grab on the gutter and you just can swing yourself right up there. Well, I couldn't, but a cryptid could. And you climb up there, and where the 2 roofs meet, there's like a little nook, like a little corner. And behind that, okay, if you go back in that corner, my head would be right against that wall where that corner was. Well, in my window where I slept, my husband slept closer to the door. In case anything ever happened, he wanted to be first to get up, not put me by the door. So I was by the window, and it was enough space for my dog's bed. Well, he's a big dog. He's 130 pounds, so he has this bed the size of like a toddler mattress, and it's really thick. And this dog is constantly, I take a shower, and he's right there at the shower curtain. Like, he thinks I don't know, a squirrel might come and attack me while I'm in the shower. Like, he hates squirrels, so I don't know. I'm like, this dog never leaves. I'm trying to like go to the bathroom, and I'm like, dude, like, give me some privacy, like, get away, like, hello, get out. And I literally have to shove him out of the bathroom. Like, he never leaves my side. And we got there, the first night we got there. Okay, let me back up. The first night we got there, our stuff was still in storage because we had to wait a little while. We sold the first house in Tennessee, and it was about a month before we closed on the house. So we were in a hotel for about a month while we were waiting to close on this house. So our stuff was in storage. So we had an air mattress, and the downstairs living room windows were 2 feet off the ground. So it was literally over my head, the air mattress where we were sleeping. The first night we were there, I heard something walking in the pea gravel that is like there's a couple little boxwood bushes and azaleas there. We moved in like 2 days before Christmas, so it was wintertime. And I heard something walking through the pea gravel. And it's like 3:00 in the morning. My husband's asleep. And all of a sudden, before I even had it, this is the weird part, and this has happened a few times when they're around. And I've always had like special abilities to feel energies ever since I was a kid. And I think I've mentioned before, my sister is a well-known psychic in South Carolina. I have some of the same abilities she has, but I don't practice them. I don't want to. But when something that is threatening like my family or me, like, or something that's not supposed to be there, like not even supposed to exist, it turns on like immediately. The sixth sense, I guess you want to call it. You can call it many things, but that's what I call it. And it'll turn on automatically. Well, it turned on before I even had a chance to know to be afraid. And my hair started standing up on my arm, like if you rub a balloon on your arm, your hair will stand up. And I was like, okay, this is very weird. And I got this cold chill down my spine. And all of a sudden, I heard something sniffing at the window, like if it was Clifford the big red dog sniffing me. And I'm sitting there shaking my head like, what? Like, huh? Like, am I hearing this? Is something? And I'm turning my ear towards the window, and I'm only like 8 inches from the window. My ear is, and I'm like, holy crap, something is actually sniffing me. Like, I don't know if I should get up. I'm scared to wake my husband up, because if it's as big as it sounds and it's sniffing me, he's going to be like, what's going on? And be all loud. And I'm scared something might happen. So I'm like, do I get up? Do I turn a light on? I don't know what to do. So I'm laying there like debating. All this is going through my mind like a zillion miles an hour, and it's still sniffing me. And I can hear it walking back and forth. And you can definitely hear something on two feet, 2 legs, bipedal, walking back and forth. And it doesn't sound like it's taking like little steps like a deer. It's something big and heavy, like crunch, like there's a few second pause in there where I guess its legs are so tall, it has a few seconds before the other foot lands on the gravel. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is something like loud. Like, first of all, I always have to sleep with the fan on. So we had 2 fans going, and yes, in the middle of the winter, and over the 2 fans, I heard this thing, and I'm like, this can't be happening. So then I just laid there and I started praying. The only thing I knew to do, because I went over every other scenario, and none of them, all of them seemed like they might create a bigger problem. So I just started praying. I'm like, in the name of Jesus, I command you to leave. In the name of Jesus, I command you to leave. And I was saying it out loud. I wanted to make sure that it could hear me, because I didn't know if I said it in my head, if it could hear me or not. And as soon as I started saying that, I heard one loud, ugh, like a really, like, deeper than that. And it was like an exhale, but a growl at the same time. And everything stopped. And I was like, what the heck? I really wanted to say curse, but I'm like, what the heck? What was that? But I try not to curse. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I do believe in the Lord, but I'm not perfect. So I was like, oh my gosh. So that was it. Rest night, dead quiet. And that we got our furniture. We had it moved in. We had it in our own truck, loaded up in our own Penske truck. The movers came, they unloaded it, they put it all in. We were able to sleep in our beds that night. My dog's bed was right next to that window on the second level of this farmhouse. My bed was right there. Well, that very first night, I'm like, and he gets covered up. He has a pillow. He has a teddy bear. Like, this dog has the life. He has a pillow. He has a teddy bear. He has his own blankie. And I put him over there and I covered him up, and he carries his own teddy bear over there. Yes, I guess everybody knows that now. But anyway, the dog's out of the bag. So I lay him down, get him in his bed, and then I lay down, and I'm like, oh, thank God we're in our own bed. And immediately he jumps up, and he starts pacing back and forth, back and forth. And I'm like, what's wrong, buddy? I know you don't have to go potty like you already went. Big dogs seem to be able to hold it longer. And so I knew he didn't have to go to the bathroom. I'm like, what the heck's wrong? And he just kept pacing back and forth, like nervous energy. And I'm like, okay, this is very weird. We're so close to each other. We have this bond. Like, he knows when something's wrong with me, and I know when something's wrong with him. And I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what. So I got up, I checked all the doors, everything was secure. I looked out the front door without opening it, didn't see anything. I laid back down. He continued to do this, and he would not lay over there in his bed by that window. Every time I dragged him over there and put him in it, he would jump up as soon as I cover him up, and he'd leave. And then he got to the point where I couldn't even drag him over there. He refused to go by that window. I opened the curtain. We had a blackout curtain. And which means, if some people don't know, most people do, there's no light that gets through. It was dark, but it's, pretty heavy. And I opened the curtain, I looked out a few times, opened the mini blind, and I didn't see a thing. And there's not any smog there. So out where this house was in Upper Indiana, you can see all the stars. Like, the sky is crystal clear, like almost every night out there, unless it's a storm. So when this continued and he wouldn't lay over there, well, there was nowhere else to put his dog bed. So finally, he was just laying on the floor at the end of the bed. Well, I didn't want him laying on the hard floor. He's a big dog, and it's not good for his joints. So this continued. I tried treats. I tried everything. I even washed all of his bedding, thinking that was the problem because it had been in storage. Nope, he still wouldn't lay over there. And he had this bed, 3-4 years, so it was not a new bed. There was no reason why he would not go over there. Even during the day, even during the daytime, he would not go over there near this window. Also, the other thing I want to mention is nothing scary happened inside this house. Like, this house did not feel haunted in any way. It did not feel like there was any ghosts there. Nobody really knew the history on this house. It was like 1918, but and I walked to this house, and I would have felt it. I did a walkthrough before we bought it, and I did not feel anything bad in this house. And I would have known right off the bat. I would have been able to feel it. So this continued for a while, and about not even a month after we moved in, I started hearing stuff jump on the roof. And I'm like, okay, your imagination. Okay, you're just scared. Okay, this. Okay, that. Okay, it's thunder. Okay, it's that. I am not the first to think that it's my imagination. I'm not the first thing. Oh, it's a Bigfoot. It's a Dogman. It's this. It's a ghost. No, I try to debunk it in every way possible. And then when I can't, I'm like, well, I guess crap's happening again. It isn't supposed to be happening, but it's happening. So what are you going to do? So what I usually do is pray when there's nothing else to do. Well, this happened. I hear something literally like land on the roof, like it reminded me of the Olympics. Like you see these sprinters, and they're running, and they leap over these. Oh, I don't know what you call them. The little pole, like the saw. They look like the sawhorse looking things. They jump over those, and they land really hard, and they take off running. That's exactly what I could see in my head. And I'm like, and they'd run all the way across the roof, and it'd be gone. And then like 5 minutes later, you hear it again. 5 minutes later, you hear it again all night long. And I'm like, what the heck is happening? Well, this was happening for so many times. Eventually, and I have pictures of it, there was a path. This is a brand new roof, too, by the way, and we got the house. There was a path worn down from where you can get up on the roof, right, in front of the house, like that little concrete wall, right to my bedroom window. Right to my bedroom window. The shingles were literally worn down. They were gone. You could start seeing the paper that they put on before they put the shingles on. And the rest of the house we were looking seemed kind of fine. I couldn't believe that was happening. Well, this continued to happen. And then several times I'd be laying there and I wouldn't hear anything jump on the roof, and I'd hear like a little, like if you take your finger and you do like a thump, thump. And I was trying, okay, it's that, it's the pipes, it's this, it's that. And I would go through the whole scenario again, and I'd keep hearing it. It would be like 2 times or 3 times. It was right behind my head in that little nook on the roof. And then all of a sudden, before I had it, I want this to be like well known. Before I had a chance to be afraid, my instincts, I guess it's like our primal instincts we're born with, like you to know to be afraid. It would kick in, and I would be so afraid. Like the only way I've thought about how to describe this fear, because I've heard other people on podcasts talk about this fear, and the way I can describe it to let other people know, pretend like you got locked in a cage, in a glass cage with a polar bear by accident, and all of a sudden you turn around and there's a polar bear coming at you. That kind of afraid I felt. Like I wanted to hide under the covers, but I knew that wouldn't be good enough. I wanted to crawl under the bed, but I couldn't fit. There was nowhere I could go. And it was always between 10-ish and 11:30 was always a very big time. And 2:45-ish between 4:30. Big time. Those were always the prime times that this would happen. Everywhere we lived, every time. Well, I would get that fear, and I knew something was sitting in that nook, and it would just sit there all night long. And it was just so scary. Like, I didn't want to get downstairs by myself, so I just laid there and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed out loud. And I don't know if it left or not, but the tapping stopped. I still felt that it was there, but the tapping stopped. So a few months after this, my daughter moves in. We moved in 2 days before Christmas, and she moved in middle of April. Well, I didn't tell her any of this because I didn't want her to be afraid. I had already told her about the Bigfoot stuff in Tennessee happening, and I told her we were moving because of it. I did not want her to be afraid again. She had an upstairs bedroom, right next to ours, and the next day she says, I know you guys are going to think I'm totally nuts, but I'm telling you the God's honest truth, and she does not lie. She will tell you. One thing I can say about my girls is they don't lie. Like, if they say something, that's what it is. And, I'm the same way. Like, there's couple things I cannot deal with. Don't be a liar. Don't be a thief. If you don't want to tell the truth, just don't say anything at all. So she says, I know you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I was downstairs and I heard something sniffing me. And I'm like, whoa, wait. I'm like, did you have the TV on or radio? And she's like, no, Mom, I had nothing on. I was sitting down there in the dark, and I have night lights and rechargeable lights in every room, so it's not pitch black because of all of this stuff. And she says, I'm sitting on the couch beside the window and I'm texting, and I hear something sniffing me at the window, and I could hear it pacing back and forth in the gravel. And she has some abilities too. She was born being able to see, as people believe it or not, it's the truth, demons. At the age of 2 years old, she would tell me exactly what they looked like, and she'd be profusely sweating, and her face would be ghost white, and I knew she wasn't lying. She hadn't even seen anything on TV to be able to even be able to describe the stuff she was seeing. So she's had abilities too, a little bit different than mine, but she can feel energies as well. And I said, what did it feel like? She said, it felt like something that didn't belong here, something wild, something that should not exist, something like I've never experienced before. So I said, were you scared? And she's like, yes. I ran, and she's like, this crazy farmhouse you guys had to buy, we had not got a chance to put all the curtains up. So she says, I ran in the bathroom and I realized that you didn't have a curtain or mini blind up. She's like, and I ran in this room, and she's like, I'm ducking and dodging and crawling, and she's like, I didn't know where to go. She's like, because everywhere I went, she's like, you idiots didn't have curtains up yet. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, well, why didn't you come upstairs? She's like, I don't know. I was so freaked out. I was running all over the place. I didn't know where to go. She's like, so then I get upstairs and I'm laying in my bed. I wanted to wake you up, but I knew you'd have freaked out if I woke you up at, 10, it was like 11 o'clock at night. So she says, I go to bed and I'm like laying there, like scared to death all night long. And she's like, finally I fell asleep. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning. I fell asleep. So then she tells me, and I'm like, okay. And I said, well, the same thing happened to me. And she's like, oh my gosh, why didn't you tell me? Well, I didn't tell her because I didn't want her to be scared. And that's what I said. So then a few days later, she tells me, okay, we got another problem. And I'm like, yes, Leah. And she says, I know you guys are not going to believe me because this just can't be happening, but I swear, I'm like, don't swear. She's like, I swear, Mom, something is jumping on the roof. And I'm telling the truth. I promise you, I'm telling the truth. I'm like, what do you mean jumping on the roof? And she's like, it literally sounds like it's running. And as it's running, it lands on the roof while it's still like mid-run, hits the roof and just keeps on running all the way across the roof. And I said, like, on 4 legs or 2 legs, or can you tell? And she's like, it definitely sounds like 2 legs, and it sounds like something that has some weight to it, like heavy. I said, heavier than me or you? And she's like, yes. She's 100 pounds, I'm 200 pounds. And she's like, yes, heavier than you or me. And I'm like, well, then I told her the same thing happened to me, but I didn't want to tell her because I didn't want her to be scared. And she described it almost exactly like I had told my husband about it, and he had heard it a couple times. I woke him up, and he heard it, because I told him what was happening. I'm like, look, I don't want to wake you up and you be like, what's going on? Like, what? And be all loud. So I'm just going to tap you if it happens so you can hear it. So I did tap him several times, and he just kind of like, and then he caught himself before he said anything, woke up, and he heard it as well. And dog wouldn't lay over there by this window. We had stuff running across the roof. So my other daughter finally comes and visits from Upper Indiana. And I told her that some strange stuff was going on, but I didn't tell her exactly what. And her fiance comes, and he's a big guy. He's like, oh gosh, 6'4", 230 pounds. Like he's big. He's built. And he's like, like he's all stocky. So, and he vapes, and he knows that I don't like, definitely, everybody knows, if you smoke, you do not smoke in my house, and you better not leave any cigarette butts or anything like that outside for my dogs to see or me to see. So he goes outside behind the barn, and I guess he's so scared of me yelling at them about, she doesn't well, she doesn't smoke, but he vapes. He didn't want to, have any trouble with me. And so he goes behind the barn. We're in bed, 10:30 at night. And I told them, I said, don't go outside. Well, I didn't tell them why. I guess I should have. Probably wouldn't have believed me anyway. And like I said, he's a big guy, and he's not really scared of much. His father was in the Navy, so he raised him pretty rough, so he's not scary easy. So he's behind the barn vaping. It's about 10:30 at night. And then he tells me this the next morning. And he says, he told me himself, told me and my husband, he's like, well, I'm outside 10:30 at night vaping. I'm sorry. I know you told me not to go outside, but I locked the door and unlocked the door and blah, blah, blah. He's like, however, all of a sudden I heard bipedal footsteps coming towards me, which was loud. The corn was still, they mow it down like late summer, and that's it for the season. And they plant it and it starts coming up, like end of April. I'm sorry, like middle of May. And they take it all down by November. It's gone. It just looks like flat, dry fields as long as you can see in every direction, all around our house where we lived, on every side. And one little small lane road that just went forever. And it's like big squares everywhere you can go, like intersections, T intersections with the same kind of roads. So you can see forever. So, and remember me saying that you can see, as far as your eye can see. And we do have windmills. This was where the windmill farms were, where we lived in Upper Indiana. It was White County, Wolcott, Indiana. There's Wolcottville, and there's Wolcott, Indiana, where we lived. It's about less than an hour from Chicago on that side, the Illinois side. So he says, I hear bipedal footsteps coming towards me. I hear gravel crunching, and all of a sudden, before I had a chance to even get afraid, I felt that, and he described the same exact kind of fear that I had. He said, I had this overwhelming sense of fear come over me. And he was like, I got so scared. All I kept hearing was, I needed to run. Like I was literally in fear of my life, and I didn't even know why, because I hadn't seen anything yet. All I heard was footsteps. He's like, I didn't know what the heck it was. And I asked him if it was bipedal footsteps 2 or 4, and he said, definitely 2. So he said, he looked and he shined his light on his phone and he could see nothing. And he said it was so close that he should have been able to feel something. See something. So he said he got so scared he dropped his vape and ran. And he's like, I knew not to run, but I felt it was so close I ran. And he's like, I left my vape out there till like the morning and I went and got it. And I thought that was very strange. And they wouldn't come back. After that, I couldn't even get them to come back. They were so afraid. He did not want to even come back to our house, which made me kind of sad because I couldn't see my daughter. Well, a few months, I don't even know if it was a few months later, let me back up. Let me back up a little bit. It was right after we moved in. I'm sorry, I forgot this part. I thought it was later on. Right after we moved in, of course, when you move in, you have to replenish your food supply, and your condiments and your hygiene, toilet paper, and all that kind of stuff. You're not going to haul all of that around with you. You're going to get rid of whatever's half gone. So we had to make a trip to Sam's Club to replenish the main food stuff that we couldn't bring with us, and toilet paper and stuff like that, cleaning supplies. So we go to Sam's Club, and it starts snowing, and it's a really cold, snowy night. It's not like a blizzard, but snow's coming down. It's very cold. There was no wind, strangely enough. There's usually always wind where we were, but there was no wind this night. And we get back, and it's like 8:30, and we get home, which is very late for us to be out shopping, coming home, but we had a lot to do. So my husband's keep getting the stuff out of the car and, leaving what he needs help carrying. And I'm sitting in the car and I'm texting my daughter and letting her know we just got home, and I'm finishing my text because I don't text when I'm driving. So as I'm texting her, I got my driver's door halfway open and my foot is on the running board. And it's cold, but I'm all bundled up, and I think my car was still, I don't know if I think it was probably still running, had the heat on. Well, my husband's in the house and the door's shut, and when you pull up, it's a gravel driveway. You're facing a barn, like I don't know, 2 or 3 car garage. It's a big pole barn, and the house would be on the driver's side. And there's a long, old sidewalk that goes right up to the house. Sidewalk's probably 30 feet long, and then you go right in the 2 steps, and then you go right in the front door. So I'm sitting at the door halfway open, finishing my text, and I'd been out there, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes, and I just was on my last sentence, and I text super slow, like really slow with one finger. It's kind of ridiculous. But anyway, I'm texting that, and all of a sudden, out of my peripheral vision on the passenger side, I still cannot even, I want to keep telling myself, like, you didn't see that. You didn't see that. You want to keep going back in your head and be like, did you really see that? Are you sure? Did you really see that? Are you sure that happened? But yes, every time I keep doing, I don't know why your brain does that. I guess because you want it to not be real. That's why, because like, how can this crap be real? Like, I don't want this to be real because I don't know where to put this. I don't know what to do with this. Why isn't the government letting people know this stuff is real? I mean, of course they have to know. I mean, so many people have reported this. So I'm going back and forth, and I'm like, yes, this really happened. So I see in my peripheral vision something going past me. Well, it was so freaking quick. When people say it's so quick, yeah, I would say as quick as a car. If you were doing 40 miles an hour in a car, that quick went by me. However, I remember I grew up hunting, playing in the woods, fishing, hunting, hiking everywhere. And my dad was military, so he was in the military, so he trained us. He used to do this thing where you go in the store, because he had all girls, and he didn't, if anything ever happened to us, he wanted us to be able to describe what the bad guy looked like. So he'd say, we'd go in like 7-Eleven they had back where we grew up, and he'd say, okay, look at this person, turn around, look at them for 3 seconds, turn around. He'd give us like 5 seconds, and he'd say, okay, tell me what they look like. From the shoelaces to what the soles of their shoes look like to everything, all the way to the top of their head. The eyeglasses, the earring, the whole 9 yards. If it was a guy, everything. Even their eye color. And he was dead serious about that. And we better have got it right, or we'd have to be in our room. So we were really good at doing that. And so I was really good at doing that. So when I saw this thing go by, my that training that my dad gave us kind of clicked in. What I saw going by me, remember, I was looking straight. I had just finished my text, and I was just getting ready to get out of the car. I just put my phone in my pocket, and I see what looks like tires rolling by me. And it was right, when I say right next to the passenger door, which was closed. I did have my dome light on because my door was open. And the dome is an older Acura SUV. I call it a truck. A lot of people make fun of me, including my sister, because I call it a truck. To me, it's a truck because it's tough. And I saw it look like going past me so fast it looked like tires. But when I thought about it, I really analyzed the situation afterwards. It was knees, because I could see the tops of 2 black knees. And I knew it was not a Bigfoot because it was too skinny. It didn't have it didn't have the same leg build and strength. They were skinny, long, weird-looking legs and weird-looking knobby knees, like too knobby. When I saw Sasquatch's knees, they were wide, up and down in every direction, and just muscular. This wasn't like that. and it went by so quick, and it was very black, and it also had a different color hair or fur. It was more a little bit fuzzy and kind of nappy and matted looking. When I say matted, like dirty, and kind of some spots were kind of chunked together and some spots weren't. When I saw the Bigfoot, that the hair, it was hair and it was like sleek and shiny. This was different, and it looked more like fur, not hair. And it was like I said, I have a Rottweiler, and it was a little bit longer than his hair, but not by much. Well, when I saw that before, like I said, before I even had a chance to actually get scared, because that takes a second in your brain, like, oh my gosh, I saw that, and then you get scared. I had that overwhelming sense of fear. Like I said again, like if you're trapped in a cage with a polar bear and it's facing you down, that kind of fear. And I was so scared. I was getting ready to start blowing the horn because there was no way I was getting out of that car. And as soon as that thing went past me, I turned my light off and I shut the door and I locked my door, my car door, truck door, SUV door, whatever. And I turned around and looked, and it was gone. And it was a full moon that night. I could see the road behind me. We were about 90 feet from the road. I could see the road and I could see the field, the dirt field that they'd mowed down the corn behind me. And it went, oh gosh, probably 2 football fields. And there was nowhere to be found. It was completely gone. And I'm like, where the heck did it go? There's no trees. There's not even any bushes. There's nothing. Like, where did it go? It cleared all of that. By the time I turned my car off or whatever, locked the door, shut the door, and turned around, it was gone. And I just couldn't believe. Well, I got ready to start blowing the horn because there was I wanted to drive off, and I lived there. That was my house. I was ready to drive away. Like somewhere else. I didn't even know where I was going to go, but I was ready to drive off. And I got ready to start blowing the horn, like my hand was right in front of the horn. All of a sudden, the front door comes open, and my husband's like, oh my gosh, get in here right now. Get in the house right now. I'm like, what? What happened? What happened? And I'm rolling down the window, like yelling out one little crack. And I'm not even opening the door yet. And he's like, get in this house right now. Get in this house. I'm like, why? What? He's like, I don't know. But something just, and he very much believes in God too. And he's like, I don't know, but something just told me right now that you need to get in this house right now. You're in danger. Get in here. And then all of a sudden he starts, like literally gagging to the point where he's ready to throw up. And he's spitting all over the front porch, like spitting out saliva. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, he doesn't chew tobacco or smoke or drink or anything like that. So there's no reason for him to be doing that. And then all of a sudden I open the door, my car door, to make sure that he's okay. And it hits me. It hits me like a freaking brick wall right in the face. I had passed out or seizure once a long time ago when I was a teenager, and they broke an pneumonia capsule under my nose. And that smell was, oh my gosh, it's like you never want to experience that. That's exactly what it smelled like. Ammonia, like the worst urine smell. Like if you never ever flushed your toilet, it smelled like that. And like wet, like nasty, like if you never washed your dog, an outside dog that just was disgusting, and it never took a bath and it was wet. It smelled like that with ammonia, like urine. And it was I've heard people say before, the smell was so overwhelming. This is how overwhelming the smell was, because when I heard that, I'm like, well, I don't know what they mean. This is what they mean, because it happened to us. Him and me, and I'm still sitting in my truck. I just had my door open. The smell was so bad, it was taking my breath away, and it was making my mouth water. I couldn't take a breath in, barely. I was like short breathing it, and my mouth was making so much saliva, I was having to spit it out because I was about ready to throw up. Like if you're ready to throw up, if you've ever had the flu or got sick, and your mouth starts watering, it's like that. it was doing that for both of us. And then I started leaning out of my, truck door, and I'm spitting because I couldn't swallow it. I was ready to throw up, and I couldn't breathe. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is that smell? And so I shut that door. And I got a bum leg. I got a bad knee. I've had a bad knee replacement, so I can't run anymore. I get out of the car and I'm trying to go move as fast as I can to get in that, sidewalk, up that sidewalk. When you get out of the truck, it's 2 steps and then a little bit of sidewalk and another 2 steps. And then you got like that, long little sidewalk that goes right up to your front, 2 steps, and then you're in the house. I couldn't get out of that truck. I could not get in that house fast enough. I shut that door and I was taking the biggest, quickest steps I could. And I was trying to hold my breath the whole way. And I pulled my sweater up over my nose, and I had my hand over my nose. I was trying not to breathe as I was walking because I literally thought I was going to throw up. And we both shut the door and we're sitting there like, oh my gosh, what the heck? Oh my gosh. Oh my, and he didn't know what I saw. So I told him, and he's like, what? Oh my gosh. He's like, I knew you were in danger. And I said, did you see something? He's like, no. He's like, something told me, like, I said, like in your head. He's like, no, a feeling like if you were in danger, you need to get in the house like that second. So I said, look, I've hunted my whole life and been in the woods. If it was a skunk and it sprayed, it's going to be gone, maybe 5 minutes, or not as strong. Well, so I said, let's just stand there for 5 minutes. Gosh, I feel like I'm reliving this. Let's just stand there for 5 minutes. And inside the front door, right at the front door on the other side, and we can't smell it because the door seal's pretty good, it's a brand new door. And I said, we're going to open this door in 5 minutes and see if we still smell it. So we did. We opened the door in 5 minutes, and it was completely gone. And I said, well, now I think I might have said it wrong about a skunk, but I said, if a skunk sprayed, you would still smell it like for days. Like one little puff of a skunk spray, you're going to smell it for days. If anyone's ever had a skunk and you drive by it, you're going to smell it for like a month or longer. It just never seems to go away. And within 5 minutes, that smell was gone. Like, no. And I'm like, what the? I'm like, let's go out on the front porch. And he's like, are you sure? And I was scared to death. Like, and I don't get scared easily. Because remember, I've hiked alone. No, I'm not saying I'm a bad you-know-what, but I don't get scared easily. And I went on that front porch, 1 step away from our front door, and I was shaking like a leaf. And he looked kind of panicked too, my husband. And we had the front porch light, and we're looking all around. It was a full moon. We saw nothing, and that smell was gone. And I'm like, okay, let's go back in, like, quick. Went back in, locked the door, and we're looking at each other like, what? And he's like, I don't know. I don't want to talk about this. Let's just go in. He's like, let's not just glorify it. Let's not give it any power by talking about it. Is what it is. We both did the right thing. Forget about it. So we did, and it continued. The jumping on the roof, running across the roof at nighttime. When it got dark, we had this ginormous, beautiful pole barn, brand new, concrete flooring. It was just beautiful, and we didn't want to use it. He didn't want to go out there at night. I didn't want him out there at night. I didn't even want to go out there during the day. My biggest fear was I was going to be in that pole barn with that one door. It had big garage doors, but there's no need to always open them, especially if it's cold. And there's a lot of stuff crafts and painting and stuff I could have been woodworking, I could have been doing. And I didn't want to go in there because I was scared that I was going to be in that pole barn and something was going to come in that door behind me and I was going to be trapped in there with it. And I wouldn't be able to get out. The doors wouldn't work. Because you can't see once you're in there. If something decides to come in there with you, it's over. Even if you shut the door, the door didn't lock that well. I don't even know if it locked at all because I don't think we had a key. So we had this beautiful barn we didn't want to use. My dog didn't want to sleep next to the window. And then the last straw that broke the camel's back at this place was this continued. I was so sick of it. I was getting totally peed off. Like, you're messing with my dog now, and you're messing with my family. It's one thing you want to harass me, but now it's on. Like, I'm mad. I'm mad. So I heard something at my window gently tapping, and I'm like, no. Forget this crap. No, I'm sick of this. And it had been let me back up. It had been tapping at this window multiple times. And yes, there was a screen on that window, but it had been tapping on it. And I got so sick of it. It was like, I don't know, middle of the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. And, or might even been earlier. I don't know. But those were the times between 10-ish and 11:30 and between 2:30 and like 4:30. I don't know what is with those times, but those are the times stuff always happened. So I'm like, screw this. I'm sick of this. And forgive my language, but I'm like, forget this. I'm so sick of this. So I jumped up, and my husband was half asleep, and I jerked the curtain open, and I don't even know what in the heck I was thinking. Why would I think I'm not going to see something? After the experiences of Bigfoot going through that made us move, our home that we loved in a beautiful piece of property. Deer were always in the yard, fox. I had a pet skunk that would come out of the woods I'd feed popcorn to, cheese popcorn. The skunk loved. I mean, we loved the area. We'd take our kayaks to the end of the road and right to the end of our road and go kayaking. And I mean, 2 minutes we're home, and we had to move. So I'm like, I don't know why I wouldn't think that something wouldn't be there. Like, I don't even know. The anger took over. Like, I'm tired of you guys messing with me. Like, this is our house. This is our property. Like, get lost. You don't belong here. So I ripped that curtain open, and yep, there was something there. There was 2 giant eyeballs, and they were as big as golf balls. Now, I have an average size woman's hand. They were from the tip of the end of my finger without a fingernail to the end of the palm of my hand. So that's probably 6 inches, 7 inches across. And they were as big as golf balls. When I described the color to my husband, he's like, "Oh, that's amber." I'm like, "Well, I really don't know what color amber means." I described it as yellow, a glowing, like stoplight yellow to like a lime green. Almost like I've seen some digital clocks that have that color, and it was kind of like that. And okay, there was no light coming out of my window in our bedroom. We had a nightlight in the room that was in the bathroom, a few feet away. It had a barn sliding door in the bathroom, so it was open, so it wasn't right there. So there was no light illuminating out of the window to be reflecting off of this thing's eyes. That night, unfortunately, there was no moon. It was pitch black outside. So the eyes were like, and they had a tiny bit of almost like a very light brown, very light, like a honey oak brown, right in the middle. But they're mostly a lime green and yellow, and they seemed to be glowing, like the eyes themselves were glowing. It was facing the window. Oh gosh, I would say, I don't know, 12 inches from the window screen, if that, on the second level, and looking at me. And it was swaying back and forth. And the reason I say swaying is because I could see the eyeballs together, obviously. Like if you've seen an ocean wave, it was going like way up and then way down and then way up and then way down. It seemed like the whole situation, as I describe it, lasted like minutes. No, it was fractions of seconds, because as soon as I saw what I saw, and I took a really good look, because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So I'm like looking really, really hard, like, okay, I see eyeballs, because like I said, my dad's training. Do I see a body? Anybody? Nope. Pitch black. So whatever was out there was pitch black. There was no There was nobody at all that I could see. But those eyeballs were right outside that screen on the second level of my window. And it was going up and way down, way up and way down. And I watched it go, like I said, way up, started like, it's almost like raised up higher, like, oh crap, there she is. Like got excited, like way up, and then went way down. And then when it went way up, and it started to go way back down, I'm like, I got so scared, I shut that curtain, Vic, and I twisted so fast to get away from that window, I actually tore the meniscus in my knee. That's how fast I jerked myself away from that window, and I fell on the floor because I tore my knee. I tore my knee. That's how fast I jerked away from that window. And I was not about to have another knee surgery, so I just had to deal with it for 3 months with my barely could get down the stairs. And I was sick of it. And we went to sell the house, and my husband's like, we're never going to be able to sell this house. Look at the roof. And I'm like, what are you talking about, the roof? He said, Carey, there is no shingles when you start from the edge of this brick garden, this concrete garden-ish wall right up against, 2 feet from the house or whatever it was, to your window. There's no shingles there. And he said, I knew you didn't want me to, but I climbed up on the roof and I looked around and there doesn't seem to be any other damage anywhere else. And I'm like, what? I'm like, that doesn't make any, I'm like, slow down. Describe this all again. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, okay. There are no, he's like, I don't know how else to put it. The shingles are gone. It's all paper from the edge as soon as you get up on the roof, and the gutter is bent like something grabbed it and pulled itself up. The shingles are worn down, and there's none there all the way to your window. Only thing shown is the paper, and a few shingles are worn off. That little nook where the two roofs meet on the second level behind where your head is in the bed on the second level. And I'm like, how does that make any sense? He's like, I don't know. So we had to file an insurance claim and get a brand new roof, $18,900 for a brand new roof. It went against our insurance claim. And then the guys came out there. They said they didn't speak English, so they had their interpreter, their boss come, and he's like, the guys that are doing this, some of them have, I couldn't even believe this. They were Hispanic, but they were very hard workers, and it said, some of these guys that are doing your roof, they don't want to finish the job. I'm like, what? Why? It was hot. It was summer, end of summer. So I said, why? Do they need a drink? They need to come in, cool off? I'm like, I can give them some ice, cold water, lemonade, or iced tea, whatever they need. They can sit on the couch. I'm like, they can sit on a couch, cool off, fan, whatever. I said, I can bring a fan out there and plug it in. They're like, no, that's not the problem. They are scared. They're saying, Diablo, Diablo. And I'm like, Diablo. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, devil? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, no, we're not the devil. He's like, no. They're not saying you guys are mean. They're saying, yeah. I'm like, okay, slow down. What are you talking about? He said, look, he showed me a picture with his phone. And I'm like, I don't believe, I gotta see this for myself. I don't believe it. So I'm terrified of heights, but I climbed up on this ladder a few feet in the air, just enough to peek over the 6 foot where the roof is. And I took a picture of it with my phone. I reached my arm up there and then I took a picture out my window, but it is kind of through the screen. And you can see what looks like a dog footprint, kind of like it melted the shingle. Like it just started to, like the whole shingle isn't melted, but like say its foot was super, super hot, like red hot, and it stepped on the shingle and it kind of burned its footprint like half, almost fully, almost 100%, like 75% into the shingle. And they said, they want to know, did you put your big dog, they use some Spanish word for my dog, they knew Rottweiler. up on the roof. And I'm like, and I was laughing. I'm like, of course, how am I going to get my dog up on the, I'm like, no, of course not. Like, what? That's nuts. Why am I, no? And I was laughing. And the guys, they were like, the Spanish guys, they were like talking blah, 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 back and forth. And they were shaking their heads like, no, no. And I'm like, no, I'm not mean. No, no, no. And, and I'm like, God. And I'm pointing out like, Jesus, no, no. Like, I'm trying to tell them we're not bad people, because I didn't know if they thought we were into some, witchcraft or crazy stuff or whatever. And I was trying to tell them, in the best Spanish I could, that we're not bad people. It wasn't us. We believe in God. And some of them actually got in their car, a group of these guys, I don't know how many, 6 maybe, got in their vehicle and they left. I'm like, where are they going? And he's like, they're leaving. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. They can't leave. And he said, well, the other guys are staying, but it was only half the crew. And they finished the job, but that I took pictures of the path worn down to my window, and I took pictures of this melted dog print onto the shingle. And I couldn't even believe it myself. They even called the supervisor of the company, the roofing company, to come out there and look at this. And he was like, I don't know. He just kept saying, I don't know. Just get the job done. I don't know. They're nuts. Just, they have different cultures and beliefs. And he just kept trying to blow it off. And he just kept looking at me. And I'm like, look, we believe in the Lord. We ain't doing anything crazy or nuts here. No, we're not. So it's not us. I don't know what happened. All I know is just we need it fixed. And they knew we were selling the house. And then they're like, why? They said one of the Mexican guys wants to know, why are you guys leaving? And I just said, we need a better place to live. I'm not going to lie. So we did. That was the truth. And we left, and we moved to Kentucky after that. And I don't know if it was Dogman or Bigfoot related, but there were several incidences that happened there that just continued, and that might have been the worst place we ever moved. It was a beautiful place, a brand new home, beautiful home. I mean, beautiful piece of property. It was like 3 acres, something a little over 3 acres, on top of a like they call it hills, but it was almost like a mountaintop to me, and a holler. Is beautiful. Right across the street, literally right across the street from our church, a country road, close to everything. And that was one of the worst places we ever lived. It was probably 30 minutes from Mammoth Cave. That was probably not a wise decision on our part. I didn't know it was that close. I didn't know all the stuff that had come out of that area, but we could not get out of there fast enough. 2 months within moving there, so much stuff started happening, sniffing at the window again, jumping on the roof. I think it was a combination of both. I don't know. I heard a roar one night so loud behind my head. It almost sounded like a lion and a dog. It was so loud, my pillow actually vibrated. I'm like, it was so bad. We couldn't even get out of there fast. Our dogs, we would let our dogs out to go to the bathroom, and they didn't need a leash. There wasn't any houses close by. There was some, but not close by. And they're smart enough to not go near the road. We'd go to open the door, and they'd stand there. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, get out, go to the bathroom. And they wouldn't go out. I had to take my foot and like push them out. They wouldn't even go out. And then they'd run right back. I'm like, you didn't even go to the bathroom. Like, one of my dogs, my little pit bull, she'd play it off like she went potty and she'd run back in. And that's not like them. So we were there 10 months and we could not get out of there fast enough. And we moved to, I'm like, I cannot believe we have to move again. Like, I cannot deal with this. I'm literally going to have a mental breakdown. Like, I'm not sleeping. My animals don't want to go outside. We have this 40-foot long deck, beautiful covered deck on the back porch with the hot tub, and we can't even go out there. Like, I don't even want to go out there. My dogs don't want to go out there. Like, I can't. I wanted to have a garden. I can't have a garden. Like, we got to get out of here. So we moved again. And I'm like, this is the last time we can move. Like, we're literally going to be out of money. Each move to rent the truck, to get the movers to load your stuff up in the truck, we had to pack our own stuff, which is not easy. It is not easy to pack your own stuff when you realize how much crap you got, and then you got to pay your movers to unload your stuff and put it in the house, and then to rent the trucks, and then the gas. You're talking, depending on where you're moving, a minimum of $3,000 to $4,000 each time you move. And I'm like, this is the last time we can move. We will literally have no savings left. And if anything happens, we could be homeless. Like, we don't have anybody to, like, I just have kids, like, and they're all in their mid-20s. My one daughter's in her 30s. Like, we don't have, and she has got 6 kids. So we don't have family to turn to ask for, like, hey, can you pay our mortgage or, whatever. It's not like that. So I'm like, this is the last house. And let me back up a little bit. In Kentucky, right before we left, my husband, when he would take the dogs out, he would take them out. He wouldn't even take them out at dark. Now, in the wintertime, it gets dark early, like 6 o'clock. He would, 6:30. He'd have to take them out at, like, right before the edge of dark. And he got to the point where he wouldn't even go out at dark either. He didn't want to. He would start hearing growls, like mean growls. Dogs wouldn't go out at dark. And when we got ready to move, right before we started packing up to move, I started feeling like, I would say about 2 months into putting the house up for sale. We couldn't even afford a realtor. We had to sell it ourselves. And I started feeling like, if we don't get out of here right now, something is definitely going to happen to us. Like, we have to go. Like, we just got to pick something that's all the main hardware stuff has been done, and we got to go. And the best place I can figure is where we don't want to be in a neighborhood. We're always country people, like to have our little spot of land. We've always lived like that. But I'm like, I'm figuring if we're in a neighborhood, they're not going to come. They're not going to come. So I'm like, and we got to go now. Like, something is, and I literally said, if we don't go, like, immediately, like, and I mean, like, as fast as we can, something's going to happen. So we did. We went within a month of putting the house up for sale, maybe a month and a half, we sold it. And as soon as the people bought the house, we got out of there. The people that moved, believe it or not, moved from Mount Olympia in the state of Washington, believe it or not. And they moved because of, guess why? Bigfoot encounters they were having. And a couple that was in their late 60s, and they had a daughter that lived with them. Well, I got a call less than 12 days after them buying the house. Missed the call, voicemail. The lady, she was frantic. I couldn't understand her voicemail. And she's like, he's dead. And I'm like, what? Who's dead? What are you talking about? She's like, Dave, my husband, he died. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, he was babbling. He went outside in the evening to get something out of his car, and he was babbling, mumbling something about seeing some kind of creature. All I could understand was dog, ears, I don't know. I couldn't understand what he was saying. So I took him to the hospital thinking he was having some kind of mental breakdown, because he was retired military. Maybe I thought something like that had affected him. Next thing I knew, he was in a coma. They had me go out in the waiting room. I come back, he's in a coma, and then a few hours later he dies, and they can't give me any cause of death. They don't even know. It's like undetermined. And she's like, I don't even know if I can even get insurance, because it says undetermined, and without some kind of cause of death, I can't even get insurance money to survive. So I don't even know what I'm going to do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like so sorry. And she's like, do you know what he saw or what he's talking about? I didn't know what to say to her. And I'm like, no, not really. So, but I did tell her that I thought some Bigfoot related things were happening around there before I sold the house to her, so I would have a clear conscience. But I don't know what happened, but I know that man died less than 12 days after buying the house from us. And we met him, talked to him. He was in the garage. We let them move their stuff in early in the garage as we were moving out. Since we moved here, when we moved here, Middle Indiana now, which in the neighborhood, it's an older neighborhood, the end of our street, 2 houses away. We're in the tri-level. If you look out the kitchen window, you can see the end of our street. Well, the first 1 or 2 nights we were here, might have been second night, we heard 2 big mud balls hit the front of the house. And I know they were mud balls because my husband went out there and checked the next day. And it's a wood house in the top level. And I'm like, what the heck was that? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? He went outside and looked the next day and saw it. And I knew that it was the Bigfoots telling me, hey, we're here. Like it was a game of hide and seek. Like, where are you going to move next? Because we can find you. Where are you going to go next? Like it became a game. And they started sitting by the bedroom window. Well, we sleep in the lower half of the house, which is like a basement type finished basement rec room area. It's got fireplace and stuff. We made that our bedroom. So the window is right, like, I don't know, neck high. And it's not like a normal basement window. It's pretty good sized window, long. And I felt and heard them sitting by the window, and they have talked to me in my head 2 or 3 times before. So when I heard them, I could hear there's gravel under our deck, which is 12 feet in the air on the tri-level, the top half where the kitchen is. And I heard them in the gravel, like sitting by the window, and I heard them like a little tap, tap on the window. And I know that tap, tap. I've heard it before since 2016, since Tennessee. So I'm like, oh no, why are you here? And I felt the energy shift in the air, like totally change. And it's not the type of fear. Some of these Bigfoots can put off a fear like that. And those are the ones I think that are not in like a family group or tribe. Those are like the rogue ones that get kicked out because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they're hurting people. Because they did tell me before, there's some good, some bad. So I believe they are the bad ones. But this did not feel like that. So I said, why are you here? In my head. And I heard an answer saying, we are here. This is how they talk. We are here protecting you from the wolves. They didn't call it Dogman, they called it wolves. So I kind of chuckled and I said out loud, I don't know, I might have said it in my head, wolves? There's no wolves here. I'm like in the neighborhood, middle Indiana. There's no wolves here. Like, what the heck are you talking about? And I'm like, okay, Carey, you got to be making all this up. That's okay. You're just thinking all this is happening. So the next night, it's a beautiful fall evening. My dog, since we've always lived in the country, he was socialized in the beginning. He loves people that he knows, but he's not dog friendly because he's not used to being around dogs. So I was walking him in the evening after everybody else got done walking their dogs in the neighborhood. And I've already told everybody, and they're nice. They text me, hey, we're walking our dog. And I'll let them know when I'm walking my guy. Everybody's respectful of each other. And I'm like, look, he loves, he's nice to friendly to people that are nice to me, but he doesn't like dogs. He's not going to attack them, but he just doesn't like them. He's going to bark and be really loud. So everybody was done. I'm walking him about 30 to 45 minutes before dark. Beautiful, cool fall evening. It's a full moon. It's just beautiful. And at the end of my street, it's a dead end. It's kind of like a big roundabout cutout circle. It's all gravel, heavy, heavy woods. And then it backs up to a big wide creek that goes into the Wabash River. So I get down there. This is probably the craziest of them all. This is where I knew that these dogmen or dog wolves or whatever, that they were 100% real, just as real as the Bigfoots. So I get down there and I have my phone in my hand because I just got, my husband was like, okay, since all this is going on, again, we don't know what's going to happen next. We're in the neighborhood. I want you to keep your phone in your hand in case something happens so you can call me or text me for help. And he keeps looking out the window watching because this has changed his life too. He's like paranoid every time I leave the house without him. So he's watching in and out, running in and out the front door, peeking, because you can literally, if you walked in the end of our driveway, it's about a full football field length away from our house to where I was. Straight shot. We are on a hill, but the neighborhood, you drive up a hill and then it completely flattens out where our neighborhood is. And it's a pretty decent sized neighborhood. Houses have been here since late 70s, 80s, some a little bit before that. You know, the houses are pretty spread out. Everybody's got their own little space. Nice neighborhood, quiet. Everybody's very, very nice here and respectful. So I get down there, and of course I have my dog on the leash, and I'm like, wow, I'm sitting there. I just love the woods. I love nature. We have bird feeders up everywhere. I love birds. I just love trees, anything to do with nature. Like, I could literally live outside if I could deal with the cold. But I just love it. Yeah. So I just love it. And I get down there, and all of a sudden, I'm looking and I'm just admiring the trees and a beautiful orange sunset. And all of a sudden, my dog his leash is loose, and it just tightens up. Like, bing, and he starts growling, this meanest growl, and I'm like, oh no. And he's looking at the hay or grass, whatever you want to call it. It's like, kind of goes down into like a little, like, I'm in a roundabout, gravel there, and it kind of goes down a hillside, maybe, I don't know, 6 feet. I mean, I could walk down it sideways easily, and then it kind of smooths out. It's dirt, and there's tall hay there, about waist high, and it's pretty thin. It's fall, everything's dead, it's beginning to be winter time. We moved here at the end of September, so it hasn't got super cold yet, so it's probably like beginning of October, and he starts growling, and I'm like, and he is dead locked on to something. Like, he will not take his focus off. I'm trying to turn his head, like, it's okay, buddy. It's just a squirrel. It's just this. And he is like, he's like a solid concrete statue. I cannot move this dog. And I'm telling him it's okay. And I'm looking and I'm squinting and I see nothing. And then all of a sudden, I see this big light up in the trees in the woods. It looks like a floating lantern, and it gets really big and then really small. And I'm like, what the heck? And I'm like, okay, I got to take a picture of this. So as I'm taking a picture of it, my dog's still growling, and all of a sudden I feel myself being surrounded in this. I'm at the end of this roundabout. Looks like a big round, like a circle driveway. At the end of a I don't know how you describe it. I guess you got the picture, roundabout. We turn around kind of area. Well, he's still growling, and I'm get my phone out, and I'm trying to film this floating lantern looking light up in the trees. Looks like it's got to be 20 feet in the air. And I'm like, what the heck? And all of a sudden I see this little orb fly by me, and I'm like, okay, well, that's got to be a bug, And then I did see a bug fly by me. Well, you can see the outline. You can see like a round ball, and you can see which looks like a big dragonfly in the middle of it. So you can clearly see the bug. It's probably a moth. But then I see all these orbs start shooting out of the ground, like coming directly out of the ground and out of the weeds, and they're surrounding me, and I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, okay, that's not a bug. And then there's another and another and another. And meanwhile, remember, I didn't know at the time what I was about to see. After I took the pictures, my dog's still growling. I'm still feeling myself being surrounded by something very, very fearful that I'm in fear of my life of in these weeds. And it did happen very, very quickly. All of this seems like I said, took forever, but it wasn't. It was only a maybe 2 or 3 minutes time. And I'm intrigued by this light and these orbs. So I'm filming this, and I am literally filming these orb balls flying around me. Well, they start circling my whole body, and they start shooting underneath my arms. So I stick my arms out to the sides, and they start going around me. I saw this video of a bee lady one time, and she stuck her arms out, and her whole body was covered in bees. That's kind of what it looked like. There were so many of them. They were swirling around my entire body that I could get on my camera from my knees, up as far as I could film with my phone, and around my arms, going underneath my arms. And I'm like, what the heck is happening right now? Like, what? Like, this can't even be real. And I'm like laughing because I just can't even believe that this is real. And then I started like, okay, you got it. And I'm still filming this lantern, like, looks like the size of a big lantern up in the trees. I'm filming that, and I'm filming these orbs going around me, and they're not bugs. They're definitely orbs. Because you can see, they're a clear, like a tissue paper white. Some of them have like a very pretty ice blue hue to them. And those are the only, some of them, let me back up. Some of them have a little bit of a greenish, pretty green, like light emerald color green to them. Very, very light of emerald green. And I'm filming that, and I'm like, okay, this is too much. I gotta go. So I got enough. I'm like, okay, I got enough on film and camera and pictures. It's time to go. So I took picture. I'm like, wait a minute. I gotta snap some pictures of these weeds, because I know this dog, and I know that he hates squirrels and he hates crows, and that's the only two hang-ups he has. And so I know that he doesn't bark or growl unless it's like this mean, unless there's something really there. He just doesn't do that. So I start taking pictures, as many pictures as I can. And I'm like taking and I'm not good with stuff with the phone. So I'm taking my fingers and making the picture bigger. So whatever I'm taking a picture of, it'll be closer up and farther away, and every way I know how to do. I take all these pictures, and I'm like, okay, it's time to go. I know not to run, but I know I'm surrounded. But I'm still standing in the gravel at the edge of this little roundabout. So I start walking away, and I may be 45 feet down this little, the end of my dead-end street. I could see my house. Nobody's around, because it's almost dark now. Well, this is the part this is one of many parts I don't understand. It's not dark yet. It's still light, but you can see the sun is starting, to set. It's beginning to be dark soon. So all of a sudden, there's a field, probably a 2-acre field, and it's 2 acres like, parallel, like long ways, not straight back, not like if you're from your chest, straight forward, like long ways. I guess it's vertical. I don't know, but long ways. So I see all of a sudden these 2 deer bust out of the tree line, because it's just a clear, and for some reason this grass wasn't dead. It was beautiful, like greenish emerald colored grass, and it was only like maybe a little bit higher, shin high, not even up to your knees, just shin high, beautiful green grass. And that's all there was. And then there was a tree line in the back, thick woods. All of a sudden, these 2 deer, big deer, I don't even know if they had antlers or not, bust out of the woods. I think they were 2 big does. They're big deer, just explode out of the tree line. And I still have my phone in my hand because of what just happened. And I still have it on ready to take pictures. And they bust out of the woods. Well, all of a sudden, it happened so quick. My dog didn't have time to do anything, and I didn't either. We're looking at the deer, and we're like, what the heck? Like, that was kind of weird. And then they turn around and they look backwards, and I see what they're looking at. And all of a sudden, this thing that is about 7, I'm just estimating, it could have been a little taller, but it wasn't shorter. About 7.5 feet tall, solid black shadow. I could see no, like, see eyes, or I couldn't see color skin. It was a shadow, but it was a perfectly outlined shadow. It had a giant roundish head, like a dog round wolf head, like perfectly round, and it had short but tall, pointy, straight up. They weren't flopped over, straight up ears on the top of its head, just like a dog would have. And and I'm like, what the heck? Like, I kept squinting, thinking I was seeing things. And the deer are looking at this thing, and then they're looking at me, and they're looking at this thing, and they're looking at the woods, and they're looking at this thing, and they're just like standing there, like they don't know what to do or where to go. And I'm looking at them and looking at this creature, and I'm looking at my own dog, like what is happening right now? And then before I had a chance to do anything, this swirly dust ball, it almost looks like in Arizona, one of these big dust clouds, you see dirt clouds, you see, appears in the air, midair, probably about 4 feet off the ground. It's probably about 4 feet wide and 4 feet tall. And this is just a guesstimate. I mean, I could be off a few inches, but I mean, who cares at this point? It's crazy enough. So, and it's like swirling round. I can see it swirling round and round and round and round. And this thing has arms like, I was trying to, it's not arms like Bigfoot arms. It's arms like a young woman arms. When I say that, like toned arms, but not like super muscular, kind of skinny and thin. But you can see like the bicep. I could literally see an outline of the bicep on the arms, and I forget what you call the lower muscles on their forearms. I could see those kind of like tensed up. And I could see hands, but remember, it's a black shadow, but I could literally see hands and fingers, and I could see legs, and they had big thighs, muscular thighs, but knobby knees, exactly like I saw back in Upper Indiana that ran by me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is exactly what I saw run by me in Upper Indiana. So this thing reaches out, and it tries to grab this ball. It's like a bear hug. It leans over just a little bit, hunches forward, and it takes both arms and wraps it around this big dust ball swirling in the air and tries to grab it, like bear hug it. And then it looks back at these two deer, and I look back at these two deer, and these two deer just, boom, fall over. They just drop like a sack of rocks. I mean, their legs are sticking straight out. Like if you've ever picked up a turtle and you flip it over and its legs, they just boom, stick straight out, and they're frozen solid like like turtle legs stuck out like that. Well, that's what the deer legs were doing. They were just stuck straight out, as stiff as could be. I'm probably, oh gosh, I don't know, like an acre, not even an acre length away. I wouldn't even say a full acre away from this. Clear view. Only thing that was in the way was not even shin-high grass. The woods are behind all of this going on. Well, my dog is like, he's not even growling yet because it happened so quick. We're like, okay, this, then that, this, then this, then that, then this, then that. There was so much going on. Like our heads are going back and forth like we're watching a flipping tennis match. Like we didn't even know what to look at next. So then the deer are still laying there. They're laying there, and I was close enough. I would have to go there and measure, but I was close enough where I could see the deer's sides going up and down, breathing, like breathing fast, like hyperventilating breathing. Like if you're breathing, take deep breaths in. I can literally see the sides of their rib cage going up and down. So they were still breathing, but but quickly. So I look back at this thing because I'm definitely not taking my eyes off of this. And I'm taking pictures of this and got my phone out the whole time. And I'm just snapping as many pictures in every way. I'm not looking down at my phone. I can promise you that. But I had my phone pointed right at this. I looked down when I first started it and took one picture of the deer and took one picture of this and held my phone. And I was just move my phone back and forth because I was not taking my eyes off this thing. And it was close. I was close enough where it wanted me. It could have definitely got me easily, but I can't run. What am I going to do? I'm already right there. I have no weapon on me. So I don't even think a weapon would have done any good. So when it starts to harness this ball, the more it starts to reach over and really bear hug tightly this ball, the more it starts to become a solid object. When I say solid, it was already a solid black object, but the more it starts to become like where I could be able to start vaguely in and out seeing, I want to say features, but I don't know how to word it. It was becoming more not a shadow, I guess is the only way to word it. And then this dust ball would start to get smaller and smaller and smaller and almost start to dissipate. And then it would become more of a transparent, it was a shadow, but I could barely see through it. But the more this swirling dust ball would almost completely disappear, the more this tall creature, this dog-like creature, would start to become more transparent of a black shadow. And the more that then the dust ball would get big again, and it would lean forward like really, really far forward and reach his arms where I could see shoulders and really try to bear hug it tight. It would become more solid of a creature. And this went on back and forth. And finally, the crazy part is I don't know what happened because I don't know if I was just so scared. I don't remember, but I walked away. I started walking away. I get home. I have all these pictures, and the crazy part is in the beginning of this, it looks really daylight. But then at the end of these pictures, after I took a crap load of pictures, and you can see all this in the pictures, and yes, it's a little bit blurry, and I don't know if that's because my hand's shaking and I can't get my camera focused or what, but you can make out the pointy ears and you can make out the two deer, and I don't know if you can see the dust ball or not, a little bit. You can see something whitish there in midair or light colored. But at the end of the pictures, it goes from pretty light, not all the way dark outside, to almost pitch black. And I'm like, I wasn't standing there that long. Like, how could it be like so light one second, and then the next second at my pictures from the deer situation that happened to this creature, it being almost pitch black? Like, first of all, I wouldn't stood there that long. Like, I mean, it can't go from light time to dark time, like in like 4 or 5 minutes, not that quick. But in my pictures, it looks like it did. So that's the part that's got me kind of stumped. I don't understand that part. But I went home and then I thought, oh my gosh, that's what this Bigfoot was telling me. It's protecting me from the wolves. And then I looked at the pictures and I see dog heads or wolf heads. I don't even know what they are. Hellhounds, wolf heads, dog heads, I don't know, in this grass. There's different ones. One's a solid black. Hard to tell how big they are. I don't know. One medium size and one has white eyeballs, like white glowing eyeballs. And they're like, I'm close. I'm less than 10, 15 feet away, somewhere in there, 12 feet from these creatures, face to face. They're in like tall, dead hay grass. So there's not a bunch of jungly vines or stuff obstructing the view, just very, very sparse, very thin hay grass right there that's dead. And there's another one that's like like a color of a coyote-ish, like a brown, like a woody brown, like a light tannish brown. And then I looked in the back behind these two smaller ones, and I saw the big daddy. This sucker was big. Like he's as big as my SUV. His head, just in a picture, looks as big as my SUV seat that I sit on, maybe bigger. And he's you can see color. You can see like brown, like German Shepherd colors. I don't know what it is. It doesn't look like a normal dog. It doesn't look like a normal wolf. It doesn't look like a human. It looks kind of like a mix between a dog and a wolf. But the crazy part is, I was staring at that grass or that hay so hard, and I could not see them. And where they're at and this dead stuff, I should have been 100% able to see them, because there's no jungly green stuff in between. The hay isn't thick enough. It's very thin. I should have been able to see them, and I could not see them with my naked eye. They only showed up on camera. And that's when all these light orbs started surrounding me, and I don't know what they were, but it seems like they were engulfing my body and protecting me from these things getting me. But I don't know what these orbs were. And there was a big orb, like a lantern, in the trees. Oh gosh, 150 yards from me, about 20 feet in the air, dead center, right in front of me. When all this, right before, like 2 or 3 seconds before my dog started growling, and I started feeling myself surrounded, and then all these orbs started just shooting out of the ground and everywhere surrounding me. But there was just so much going on. Like, I got home and I was so overwhelmed. I just sat there like, oh my gosh, like, and he's like, something happened, didn't it? And I'm like, yes. And I'm like, I need a minute. And I showed him the pictures, and he's like, oh my God, holy crap, oh my gosh, what are these pictures? And I'm like, I just need a minute to look. Like, it can't even look right now. And then when I looked at him, I immediately saw it too. And I was just like, how could I not see this? How could I not see this with my own eye? But I just couldn't. And I do believe that, I don't know if they were Bigfoot's protecting me, like they said. I don't know if they were, angels protecting me. I don't know what they were, but I believe that they protected me from these, definitely from these things. And yeah, that's about all so far. I haven't really, since then, I don't walk down there anymore. The crazy part is that I feel very drawn to go down there. And I don't know if it's just my curiosity or what, but I feel like you have to go down there. Like, come on. But I try not to. And if I do, I just go at the very beginning. I don't go all the way down there. And it was just a beautiful spot, but that's kind of ruined again for me. So I just do, when I walk my dog, I do a different walk around the neighborhood. I mean, it's kind of sad, because I feel these creatures are trying to take away any enjoyment that I have out of life. And people will say, well, don't let them. Well, if you see a big wolf-looking thing that's not supposed to exist, I mean, it's easier said than done. Are you going to walk right up to it? I mean, maybe some people would. I mean, kudos to them. They got really good faith. I mean, I have faith too, but I guess not that strong, because I can't do that. I just don't want to do that. I'm not ready to check out yet. So, I mean, I don't push it, because I feel like I've been blessed so far. But, that's where we're at right now. So I don't know. It's wintertime. It's cold. Not a lot going on anymore, because it is so cold here. So I just hope that as soon as it starts to get warm, that it stops. But I don't think it will, because it's been 9 years and it hasn't stopped yet. So that is my story.
Well, here's to hoping that it does stop. I mean, that's just horrible. All these experiences you've had, no one should have to go through half of those experiences. But unfortunately, you have. Carey, I've got a lot of questions to ask you about these experiences, but we've gone so long that would you be willing to come back for a part 2?
Of course.
Oh, good. That's what we'll do then. I'll have you back next week, and I'll have some questions for you about these experiences then.
Absolutely, 100%. Yes, I welcome any questions because you might even open my mind to something that I haven't thought about yet. So I want the questions because it'll help me understand this more.
Well, any way that it's going to help you is a good thing. And also, too, the more you talk about it, the easier it's going to be to think about these experiences. So it's really a win-win. It really is.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Oh, no, you're welcome. Well, having said that, Carey, thanks again for coming on and sharing those experiences with us, and we'll catch you next week.